Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Chico and the Man will not be presented this evening, and the Rockford Files will be seen 1 hour later than normal, so that we may bring you the following special program.
I'm Sal Abenanti, and I'm here on Kickstarter to ask for your support to produce my 115-page color graphic novel, The Hostage. Hostage is set in the streets of Rio de Janeiro, based on the plight of the street children that live in the favelas. In the world of the graphic novel, being murdered daily, and the hostage is the evil spirit that is raised to avenge their death. Origins go all the way back to the indigenous tribes of the Amazon as the spirits that protect children, especially murdered children. The level of death that these kids have to endure every day. They have nowhere to sleep. They have no place to eat. They have to survive off of begging. There were nobody in capes that were coming to save these kids.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. It's Word Balloon Live. John Suntress here, excited about today's subject because it harkens back to an incredible Marvel run of the 80s and a new spin on it. And Harry Bauer is the guy that's responsible for this new audio production that I'm happy to bring attention to. It's good to see you, Harry. Welcome.
Good to see you, John. Thanks for having me.
What inspired this? We're going to show a clip of your first chapter. This is the Negative Zone saga, FF 251 to 256?
Correct.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was 351 to 356. So I was getting my numbering screwed up. But John Byrne doing everything solo, writing and drawing. What made you want to adapt this and present it in an audio fashion?
Yeah, so what brought this about is that during the pandemic, kind of locked up and not having a lot to do as an actor and a writer, I was looking for an opportunity to do something. And, I saw a lot of fellow actor friends doing things on YouTube where they were reading children's stories and stuff, which kind of tied me back to something I did about 5 years ago on YouTube, where I took the Arnold Lobel stories of Frog and Toad Are Friends. And I did a mashup where I took it and it made it Batman and Joker Are Friends.
Hilarious.
So I did the voices and I just redid the art in the Arnold Lobel style, just implanting Batman and Joker in there, and did a couple of videos with that. And it was a lot of fun. I had a really good time with it. So I was thinking, as my friends were using this time to do creative projects, one of them being like telling children's stories, I was like, oh, it would be really cool to do something of that ilk, but do it with comic books. Because I dabbled in stuff like that before. And as I proceeded to do it, I started to find out there were a lot of other audio comics out there that were along the lines of what I was thinking already. So I started to explore the stuff that was out there already and see what was done. So one key thing that I did that I feel is different, at least from what I've seen out there, is I took the time to go through all the panels and remove all the word balloons and text boxes, and then just kind of recreated the art in those spaces. So it really just focused kind of seamlessly on the art and kind of try to do it in a slightly movie style. And it's just been a lot of fun. And I have a lot of friends in the theater industry in Chicago. And by making films, I've met people, all over the place, going to film festivals. So it was a great opportunity to collaborate with people that I normally wouldn't, because we're spread all over the place, and get these voice recordings down and just have a great time. So that's where it all came from.
That's fantastic, man. Go ahead. Excuse me.
No, it's fine. And as far as the specific issues, I mean, Fantastic Four, those issues are what got me into comics. So when I was a kid, it was 83, and I saw those comics on a rack in Wildwood, New Jersey. And it was like 253 and 255 and 256. And I plunked them off the rack. I got totally sucked in. And that launched me as becoming a collector. It's like, well, I got to go back and get the other stories. I got to read the whole thing. And so I've been a strong collector ever since. And so it's kind of like just embracing the thing that got me into it.
That's awesome, man. I put the link to your YouTube channel in the chat. I will create a banner as well. Hey, already some comments before we get to showing people who aren't aware a preview of what you're doing on your channel. Carl says, love what you did last year with the legendary cast members. Oh, this was me. Excuse me. I thought he was talking about something that Harry did, but he loves the fact that, yes, we had the cast members of Justice League Reigning Kingdom Come, and he is excited to hear about your project. That's very nice.
Really cool.
I truly appreciate that. And really, God, that's scratching the surface. As Harry points out, I've loved what people have done with The Killing Joke, and God, some of the Star Wars stuff that people have recreated, even prospective filmmakers that for their senior thesis in film school took great scenes from Alias and Scalped and other great comics and made short scenes of them. In fact, if I may, Harry,
yeah,
I'm going to show something that I got and I will be doing in the months ahead. I'm going to solo myself here. Back in the 60s and late 50s, Roulette Records created Co-Star. Co-Star is, as it looks like, it's an album, and you act out scenes opposite, as they say, your favorite star. This is Basil Rathbone doing scenes from the brothers Karamazov.
Oh, that's great.
And I cannot wait to get into that and perhaps even have a little fun with the dialogue and maybe make it something very different unintentionally. But I have other albums on order from the Co-Star run. And I remember seeing this in the early 80s, going to one of my favorite record stores. And, this was, God bless vinyl, because goofy shit like this was made all the time. And in fact, the Monty Pythons make fun of this format and have a very funny scene that they did on their records. And they play a buzzer when you're supposed to give your line. And it's so fantastic. So I haven't had a chance to actually listen to these yet. But I have a good number of actors and actresses modern audiences may not know. But along with Basil Rathbone, I can tell you that I have a Cesar Romero album.
Oh,
I know.
That's great.
So that's going to be cool. And also, I want to point out, I met Harry a couple of years ago when Crystal Skillman had one of her plays running here in Chicago. And Crystal and her husband, Fred Van Lente, created a biographical a play about Jack Kirby called King Kirby.
Yep.
And they have just turned their play into an audio podcast. And in fact, have gone a couple steps further. They've also got a full cast. And I think they've created a new score for the audio version. But I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh,
so there you go. There's a nice little laundry list. Let's see what else. Oh, Carl has another comment here. As a new comic reader in the last 5 years, I've yet to read some of the great runs. Excited to learn a bit more about Byrne's FF run. Absolutely. Well, let's play the first minute or so of Harry's first chapter of the Negative Zone, and this will give you an idea of what to expect when you go to Harry's YouTube channel.
34th floor of the Baxter building, and this freaking tube looks like it goes down a mile. Didn't tanks have a fit when you built your latest doohickey right to the middle of the offices?
Not at all, Ben. Although this new access to the negative zone is 500 meters in length, only 1 meter exists in our reality. The shaft is dimensionally transcendental. The negative zone exists in a parallel dimension. I've constructed most of this in the negative zone. This eliminates the need for complex locks and barriers we've used in the past.
I thought you wanted to close it off forever.
I did, but consider the larger picture. Here, look at the negative zone viewing screen. A universe as vast and immeasurable as our own, with planets, suns, life forms, civilizations. How can we turn our backs on a cosmos so full of awe and wonder?
And full of creeps like a nihilist. And if he got out again...
I haven't forgotten Annihilus, or Blastar, or Stygor, or the fact that I arranged for Galactus to be sent to the negative zone with enough planets to satisfy his cosmic hunger for all time. Yet, he returned. Apparently, the mysteries of the zone daunted even him. The dangers of megaspace are undeniable, yet there are endless wonders we may discover there, beyond anything in our universe.
Sounds like you're writing a love letter, Stretch.
Sorry, Ben. As a scientist, the notion of something like the negative zones... Oh, Susan. What is it, honey?
Sorry to interrupt playtime, but it's the first tenants meeting.
Oh, yes. Completely slipped my mind. Coming, Ben?
I'm maybe 25% of Fantastic Four Incorporated. But playing landlord? No thanks.
Fantastic, man. And already the Peanut Gallery agrees. Yes, I agree with you, Sam. It is very cool. So, yeah, man, that's fantastic. And now you've got 2 that are already up on the website, and you're going to do all 6 chapters. I forget how many chapters it is.
There's 6 chapters, and then there's like one more story that's kind of a coda on the whole thing, which is 257, which is really a Galactus story, but it also kind of ties up all the threads from the Negative Zone saga after they get back. So we'll be doing that one as well. And fortunately, I've got a great guy who does Galactus, and his voice is fantastic. So I'm looking forward to getting to that spot.
That's great. Well, here is the link as well. It's in the chat, and it should be on all the platforms, everybody. So you should see it as well. But in case you don't, make sure you copy that. And yeah, we're talking to Harry Bauer about his audio dramatization of the FF John Byrne arc for the Negative Zone. Back again, FF 251 through 257. Are you going to include? Is there an Avengers?
Yes,
tie-in as well?
finale, yes. Avengers 233 is a crossover, and so that's going to be a double-sized video. So it'll have Avengers 233 and Fantastic Four 256. And it was like I'm going through the process of editing that one right now. So it's figuring out because I'm going to intermingle them. So I'm figuring out like where to
that's
stop one
great.
scene and where to have another scene versus
Sure.
having them play separately. It's all kind of interwoven. So
Fun. That's
Yeah, it's
great,
fun.
man. That's amazing. And God, of course, Byrne's art is so ridiculously vivid, and this really is John at his greatest, I think, moments of certainly doing the FF. Man, when he loves a subject, he puts everything into it, and really, you could tell the excitement he had for going back, even in your opening sequence, retelling the origin, and just some great. It was just a great classic return to what the FF, made it so unique in the Silver Age, and he managed to recreate those moments, but also, I think, giving a very modern spin for the 80s on his run as well.
Oh, totally. I mean, yeah, he really captured the time at the time when that was coming out. And I mean, really had a strong sense of the family. I mean, they've always been called Marvel's first family, but he really embraced that, which was always there, like the squabbles and the places where they showed the love for each other. But he really found some great nuance on it. Like they'd gotten into like more of a standard, run of the mill superhero book for a while there. And had kind of lost its touch, and he really got it back to the basics when he got on there and really add a little bit of nuance to those family touches. And it's just a great time. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, space exploration, obviously a heavy part of what he did. And also just the day-to-day stuff of, as you, even in the little interlude we just showed, just the problems of running the Baxter building and, hey, we got a tenant meeting. So that's going to be hilarious to watch. And no, that's a lot of fun, man. That's great. How big of a cast did you assemble to do these?
So I've got a lot of people involved. I mean, I started out just simply, and luckily I got a great group of people. The people that I got, Greg Hardigan is the Thing. My wife Elizabeth Klein is playing Susan Richards. Chris Matthews as Reed Richards, and Anthony Turnus is my Human Torch, and they just all did a wonderful job. And I really feel like they've got a good balance between each other. And as the videos keep going, I feel like the interplay just gets better and better between the four of them. And then I just like pulled upon my talent pool of people that I know. So many great people. Just, would you want to come in and just do a line here, a line there? And so it's been a lot of fun getting through that. And it's just fun to like have the Avengers assemble, like have my own Avengers for that finale. And, I specifically told them, don't try to imitate the MCU guys at all. Cause if that was to happen, people will watch it like, oh, you're kind of like Chris Hemsworth, but not quite. You're sort of there. I said, don't even go there. Just make it your own. So we're doing it our own way for sure.
That's really great. I'm sure you've heard the 70s Fantastic Four serialized radio drama. It's on, everyone can check it out. It's on the Internet Archive, archive.org. And if you search over there, you'll be able to find it. And of course, among the cast members, and it's kind of wild, that he did it pre-Saturday Night Live, Bill Murray. Johnny Storm.
So crazy.
A lot of fun. And also, have you ever, and again, you're a bit younger, but have you ever dug back and checked out the Power Records recreations of comic book stories? Are you aware of those at all?
A little bit. I have listened to some of them. Yeah.
Again, they're on YouTube as well. And they're amazing recreations. And man, I'll tell you, even some of the stories that they did are only like 7 minutes long. But I was very impressed. And it's funny you say, obviously, you want to stay away from being too similar to the cinematic universe's portrayal of these characters.
Right.
Beyond Marvel stuff or DC stuff, Power Records also did Star Trek stuff. And I was actually very impressed with the attempts at doing Nimoy and Shatner voices, especially Shatner. And I know my own grade school level self thought I was listening to Nimoy and Shatner. You can tell the differences as an adult. Or one of my favorite things that Power Records did, they did an adaptation of Planet of the Apes, including the apocalyptic climax of the first film. And it's just so weird. I can't imagine being a grade school kid. I think it would scare the shit out of me. I remember watching that movie as a grade school kid and being disturbed enough. I mean, it's just like Soylent Green is people. Everyone knows the line. Everyone knows the meme of, Taylor seeing the Statue of Liberty on the beach and everything all washed out. But I was just, again, I absolutely recommend people check that out as well as checking out what Harry is currently giving us. So it's pretty cool. Here's a great question. Harry, do you have any hopes or dreams about how the MCU will bring the Fantastic Four into the mix in the next couple of years?
Well,
any fan thoughts?
Like right on the precipice right now. And I mean, to that end, I was like, oh, I got to do this now because, all these other things, it's like you think of Iron Man, you think of Downey, you think of Thor, you think of Hemsworth. So, I mean, these things are ingrained now. So like, now there has not been the consummate version of the FF yet. So it's like, it's an opportunity to do it while people don't have things drilled into their brain. But I mean, I would love to see for the FF movie, and I think they will go there, the more what I'm capturing here with Byrne's Negative Zone run, more of the sci-fi, heroes, going on these science fiction adventures. And I think that they will. I think that's their direction to go. It's tough because it's like there was already like the perfect Fantastic Four movie, which was The Incredibles.
Yes.
They nailed what the Fantastic Four is with that movie. So it's like you got to do something that is going to be just as great as that, but you've got to differentiate yourself somehow as well.
I personally hope that they almost like Ant-Man has a lineage that goes back to the 70s. I would really put the FF in the 50s, or rather the 60s, when it really came out, and have it be a Cold War story. And because of their mutations, have them survive today and not look that much older than they were in the 60s. But I really think it's a great opportunity because The space race, I think, it was so important for the original story. Again, they really leaned into the Cold War with the Red Ghost and the super apes that were part of that whole thing, and really just Marvel history in general, and also to differentiate them and give them more a clandestine, kind of existence that maybe Shield was aware of the Fantastic Four, but maybe for a long period they were doing secret missions that we weren't aware of. I mean, what did you think of the earlier attempts, the mid 2000s one with Jessica Alba and Michael Chiklis, and the Josh Trank movie?
I've only seen like little bits of the Josh Trank movie. I mean, I'm such an FF fan that it burned me so much to watch the Tim Story one. It's like, Chris Evans was a great Human Torch before he
Yes,
was a great Captain America. And Chiklis was a wonderful thing. They were the highlights of the movie for sure.
I agree with you.
Jessica Alba was miscast
Yeah,
as, Susan. And Ian was not the perfect Mr. Fantastic either. But the biggest thing was the story. I think it had ups and downs. It was lacking. It just didn't quite come together. It didn't do really justice to Doctor Doom. So I think that's where it really struggled. And then,
agreed.
I think it really fell off in the Silver Surfer sequel that they made. Then it just even went further downhill at that point.
Yeah, I was okay with how they portrayed the Surfer, but to make
Sure.
Galactus a cloud, and it was just like, no, no, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So no, I'm absolutely with you. And yeah, poor Jessica Alba. I don't no ill will or anything, but yeah, really miscast as Sue.
Yeah.
A real missed opportunity. That it's so interesting because obviously both DC and Marvel are trying really hard to remind everybody that hey, it's a big universe. Let's have more strong women. Let's have more women of color. And much like Lois Lane, it took forever for them to kind of wake up and go, "Oh my God, Sue Storm! Sue Storm's a badass." And thankfully, during this period, certainly with what John Byrne did, wasn't he? Didn't he write when Sue was Malice and really went out of control?
Yeah, and that's when she transitioned from Invisible Girl to Invisible Woman.
Yes, and that's yeah. And honestly, Mark Waid recently had a fantastic flashback story with Susan as an agent of Shield and working with Nick Fury Sr. and interactions with the Black Widow. And it's like, yeah, this is what you could do with her. Or, my God, A-Force during the more recent Secret Wars. It's like, yeah, you have that many great women characters that could really be a great frontline team. What the hell have you been waiting for? And it really does blow my mind that both books, really, that there isn't an ongoing Invisible Woman series, and that A-Force isn't a regular series either.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And it's just interesting to see how her character has evolved over the years. It's like Byrne started to make her more empowered, make her stronger. But even you go back to what he was doing at the 80s, it was revolutionary at the time, but now it seems dated even now. It's like it's relative to what the time period was.
I agree with that. But they were asking online who your favorite FF characters are. And oops, look at me! I can't even spell worth my. This is why I do radio and television, and I don't write much stuff. So there you go. Let me fix that for you.
Well,
Yeah,
the Thing, for sure.
sure.
He's just so much fun, and I love the whole team in general. And I'm a fan of Annihilus. I do the voice for Annihilus in the series,
Cool.
and so so that was a draw for me to
Sure.
this particular storyline as well. So I've always liked that character. And Doctor Doom he is the classic, Marvel villain. He's so wonderful. But the rogues gallery that the Fantastic Four has is so rich and so deep, and there's so many characters going, from Mole Man to the Frightful Four to, there's just, and they're so pulpy too, which is fun.
I'm going to put Jake's comment up here because I do understand why it's up there. He said FF is great. Byrne doesn't deserve to be celebrated. He's a hateful and ignorant person. I can separate the art from the artist. And while John has said some dumb things and taken some odd positions as he's gotten older, I still appreciate his work. So
Yeah, that's how I look at it too. I mean, it's something that got me into comics. I don't, think about him as the person, and I don't pay attention to, what he has to say and his, his opinions and all that stuff. That's in a box for me,
I'm with you. Yeah, I agree. Here, Jico Riho. I hope I'm saying that right, Jico Riho. But when he wants from a live action Doctor Doom, no powers at all, just super smart and able to hold his own against seemingly more powerful foes. Completely agree. Again, the great well, there's two great dynamics, and I know I'm a broken record when I say this. Everybody loves the Reed Doom dynamic, but I got to tell you, my favorite is Ben Grimm and Doctor Doom that knew each other in college, and it is so classic jock versus nerd. And
Yeah,
in the right hands, I love people who write the thing like, fuck you, Vic. I hated you in college. I still hate you. And meanwhile, Victor's like, fuck you, Ben. You're a
right.
jock. You're a knucklehead. You've always been, and you're nothing. And it's like, put those two guys in a room and let them have a conversation and how much they hate each other, because I just think that's hilarious. And it's one of the most unique relationships in comics.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I feel the same way. I think the Doctor Doom being a mastermind is so much more interesting than him being OP. What
Yeah,
he's capable with his mind and manipulation and inventing and resources pulling together. That's the great Doctor Doom.
absolutely. What have you thought of the recent runs? I really think people like Fraction and Hickman, and certainly Dan Slott currently, I think have been great stewards for the characters and really understand the essence. I mean, God, Dan even going back to team ups of Johnny and Johnny and Spider Man, and what he did when he would put the Fantastic Four in his Spider Man run. We all knew that eventually, whenever Dan was going to write the FF, it was going to be great. But really, the Hickman and Fraction runs, I think, have also, kind of hit the highlights, as you say, of the Explorers and certainly the family.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I haven't read all that stuff, but definitely great stuff and worthy of being applauded. Yeah, yeah.
You
Very
know,
enjoyed.
and another relationship that I love, frankly, is Namor and Sue. And Namor, Sue, and Reed. I mean, and just that weird triangle. And again, in the right hands, that could really be exciting. And in fact, Chip Zdarsky wrote a great modern Invaders story where Namor was just going nuts. And the original Human Torch and Cap were trying to, find out what the hell's going on, because here's these guys that are World War II buddies with
Right,
Namor and everything, and seem to be able to cut through the crap of hero versus villain, and like in that great Band of Brothers way, be like, hey, we're all, come on, it's us. Cut the shit. What's going on?
right, right, right.
And I asked Chip, I'm like, what does Sue think of Namor going nuts? And forgive me, everyone, for tooting my horn, but Chip's like, I don't know. That's a really interesting idea. And he was midway enough in the story where he's like, I got to throw that in there. That's pretty cool. So
Nice.
so yeah, that made me feel good. But I do, and again, probably because of just classic FF stories. I love What If, the first issue of What If, late 70s, I believe late 70s, maybe not early 80s. I don't know if you ever read that, where Spider-Man joins the FF.
Yeah. The
And it
Fantastic
was,
Five. Yeah.
yeah, yes. And Sue kind of feels, hey, maybe you don't need me anymore. And she goes off with Namor. And Namor even like changes her DNA to make her compatible as an Atlantean and living underwater and stuff. And I just remember like, wow. And even God, there was some great moment in, I believe it was Hickman's story, not Fractions, where Sue really like gives Namor a new one and tears his asshole a bit. And he is bowing to her like, you are a magnificent woman. And it's like, yeah, man, it is like kind of Shakespearean, where Sue's that one woman that if Namor had the chance would take her away from Reed in a heartbeat. And I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. 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 No doubt.
What are are there other favorite villains of yours for the FF?
Oh gosh. I think those are the big. Well, I mean, Hate Monger and Molecule Man are a lot of fun too, and
Sure.
that was part of his run as well. So that was some great stuff. Um, Yeah, those are the ones that come to mind really for me.
Okay, and I'm going to say his name right this time because you gave me his pronunciation. It's uh, Chico Rijo, I'm assuming, or maybe Rijo, Chico Rijo. Let's say that. He says he'd like to read the What If issue where the original Marvel bullpen become the Fantastic Four. Well, that's on
Yeah.
Marvel Unlimited. Do you have Marvel Unlimited, Harry?
I don't. I don't. I'm gonna
You
have
know,
to pick it up.
I was going to say for what you're doing, it's a great resource. And man, here's a free commercial, Marvel. Honestly, I think it's a tremendous buy. I haven't looked since DC has really changed its service from streaming to purely digital comics. What they offer, and I keep meaning to, but I can honestly say that Marvel Unlimited is a great deal and has classic runs, and it's been an invaluable tool for Word Balloon in terms of when I have an old timer or even someone that had a recent run. I mean, they're only 6 months behind the regular schedule, and it's a wonderful way to keep tabs on the Marvel universe in general. And really, I mean, just and also the classic stuff, even more so, is so vivid and beautiful. I mean, I'm all about having fun and picking up a reader copy if I can find it here or there from the 70s or the 80s. Not so much on the 90s, but
Yeah.
that's all right. What are you going to do? The 90s were the 90s, unfortunately, for Marvel. And but no, it's real. I mean, this stuff really digitally just looks amazing. The current stuff and the retro stuff. And my God, I big fan of both the Thing solo book and of course Marvel 2-in-1. I've been
Yeah.
rereading those constantly.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of good stuff there. Yeah. The Thing run is pretty fun.
Absolutely, man, and everybody from Slott to Charles. Was it no, not Charles Soule? Who else? Well, I see. I'm confusing them with She-Hulk. I was going to say Slott and Soule, but they both did She-Hulk. Only Slott, I guess, really recently tried to bring the Thing solo book back, and it was so much fun. And it's a shame it didn't take off. The Thing was such an important and fun character on his own in the '80s. And are there other stories or characters beyond the FF that you would like to adapt?
Yeah, so possibly, it depends like how much attention this gets and if people enjoy it. If there's an interest, I would like to do more. I think I would like to see if I was to do more, I would see out this whole FF run, not his entire run, but see it through to the trial of Reed Richards, because that's like the progression from where this starts and where it ends
Sure.
up going. So I'd love to do that. But then beyond that, like looking towards other comics and doing other storylines, would be a lot of fun. Um, Even doing like some kind of like mini versions of some of the content out there. So I'm just dabbling with a couple of ideas in my head of where things could go. But yeah, there's definitely some thoughts brewing. Yeah.
And it's interesting to notice because I found this with Kingdom Come as well when we presented it. We just did the best scenes from Kingdom Come between Wonder Woman and Superman with Susan Eisenberg and George Newbern from the Justice League cartoon. And
Okay.
it's we chose a handful of scenes, and much like your episodes, it was only about 9 minutes. Yours range from about 10 to 12 minutes,
Right.
depending on the issue. And isn't it interesting that when you dramatize, you suddenly realize how short they are, how short each chapter is?
Yeah, well, it is one thing that I try to do with the comics. I mean, Byrne has his fair share of exposition that's involved in there, and so for the sake of having them be breezy and just kind of move along, I found places to kind of trim down some things that just don't translate well to coming out as dialogue that works okay on the page, but not coming out of the mouth. So I made some small adjustments there just to kind of keep it going along at a good pace.
Excellent, man. Any DC thoughts?
What No, I just kind of translated thoughts to people talking,
No, no, no. I guess I'm a DC Comics. Any?
Oh, DC thoughts. Oh, I'm sorry. Uh, yeah, possibly. Yeah, I mean, I've read plenty of DC stuff. I could definitely go over to the Distinguished Competition and pull something from there. That would be cool. Yeah.
No, that's great, man. God, it's funny you mentioned the trial of Reed Richards. I can think of several, including a recent Daredevil arc that had a lot of courtroom scenes. Or you go back to one of my favorite Daredevil stories that never gets love, and that's when Bob Gale wrote an arc before Bendis took over writing Daredevil, and it was this great, simple Matt Murdock court case, and Spider-Man had to appear as Daredevil to maintain Daredevil's secret identity, which I always loved when shit like that would happen in either company's
Yeah.
stories and stuff. But it was just this really solid Daredevil, day in the life of Matt Murdock, dealing with a case, and the flip side of the same case is doing it both as Matt Murdock and as Daredevil. And I think it's like a really fun story that nobody talks about anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
lots of great stuff.
Cool. Do you now? I know you use music in the intro. Do you ever use incidental music within the productions?
There is, yeah. So all the music is done by my friend Joel Lederer. So he composed the main theme for it, and then he does all the incidental music that's in each episode, and he just does a bang up job. A lot of great stuff, great hook for the show. So I'm lucky to have him involved, and he's good at whipping things out pretty quickly. So that's great.
Well, again, I certainly love the intro. That's incredible. And Carl's asking. He says people are making a big deal about how short the Disney Plus WandaVision show is. Clearly, they've never read monthly comics. I agree with that, and also I think it's kind of perfect. And I can only speak for myself that I'm slow to watch a lot of the movies that have been streaming. The first run movies. God, it took me forever to watch Wonder Woman 84, and part of it is I'm so busy, I sometimes can't devote more time than an hour for television.
Right.
And so whether it's Mandalorian or WandaVision or the DC streaming shows as well, I'm kind of cool with it being under 60 minutes. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I think it's great. And I think it's worked really well for WandaVision. It's been a really compelling show. And, I think that obviously it fit the frame for telling the TV stories from the different eras as it went through. It was custom made in size to fit those type of shows. And it was interesting too, when it finally got to episode 4 and we break out of that and it's more MCU style as far as the storytelling, when it was over, it's like, oh, it's already over. It felt very quick. It's like, oh, I'm ready for more. Oh, and it stopped already. But that's okay. Less is more. So keep the audience wanting more. I think it's great.
I totally agree. And also, as much as I appreciate binge watching, I guess I'm old fashioned. I kind of like the idea that you got to come back next week for another episode. And I just think it sustains the conversation about a lot of these streaming shows when it isn't a binge. If it's a binge, maybe after the first couple of weeks, fandom talking about it dies down a bit. Whereas when it's, again, the 8 weeks of Mandalorian and these weeks of WandaVision, every week just prompts a new conversation, and I just think it keeps it out there in the ether.
It sure does. It makes it a lot more interesting to have each episode come out and have so many questions like, well, where is this going? What's happening? And if you were binging it, like the story's over. Like you're just talking about what has completed, and it is fun to have to wait. I mean, my kids, like before, I would always have to tell them, like, I remember when I was a kid and you'd have to wait for a show and you'd have to wait each week and you'd come back next week. And that wasn't even a guarantee. You'd come back like, I'm ready for next week. And then it's preempted for something else. So they're doing a rerun. You're like, oh no. So it is fun to give them a taste of that and do something different than just binging through stuff.
My favorite story like that is Bendis with his youngest son when the kid was only 3 or 4 years old, and they were listening to the radio and they heard a song, and the kid's like, play it again. And it's like, I can't do that, hon. I'm sorry. It's radio.
Yeah.
And the kid's like, play it again. And it's like, again, everyone's so used to on demand and the ability. And certainly if you watch the song on YouTube, you'd be able to immediately play it again and stuff. So it is kind of crazy how children's perception of getting media on demand is really changing watching habits. And again, as a broadcaster, 30-year broadcaster, I'm fascinated by this change and where we're at right now. Brad has a good comment. There's an unlimited special effects budget in Theater of the Mind. Indeed, that should be exploited. When he says Theater of the Mind, if people don't know, that's a great way to describe audio programming.
Yeah.
When I listen to a superhero audio adaptation, I'm disappointed when it's a boring conversation. Well, again, I think that's the acting. I mean, God, and I don't know if you're like this, Harry, but I'm a massive old time radio fan as much as I am modern audio drama,
Yeah.
and I always point to because I get it, and certainly people know his TV and film work more, really mostly his TV work. But William Conrad of Jake and the Fat Man and
Hmm.
news everybody he did not play Jake and Cannon, and the guy was a big heavy set dude. He's a fat man,
Yeah.
hence the title. But my God, on radio, one of the most powerful actors you'll ever hear, and so tremendous dramatically in so many different anthology shows and regular weekly series. He just was like the indispensable actor on radio, and just so great. And you could say that about Vincent Price. You could say that about Jack Webb from Dragnet. I mean, they just have these voices you have to pay attention to.
Yeah, it's when you've got the right actor, it changes everything. I mean, it makes everything captivating. You know, a conversation in the hands of two people that don't have that level of skill is boring. It just kind of lingers there. It's like, okay, but when you've got great actors and there's conflict and there's tension and you can feel it just, crackling in the air, it's a wonderful thing. And John, talking about going back to, you were talking about like the Star Trek audio drama that you were listening to. I mean, I love all that kind of stuff. And so I remember when I was a kid listening to the Star Wars radio dramas that they did on public radio,
Yep,
and we would travel like a long trip across the country to see I grew up in New Jersey, going to see my family in Michigan, and just laying down in the back of the car, especially when it was late and we're driving and looking up at the stars in the sky and just listening to it. Um,
that's fantastic. Yes,
and it's interesting too, because you were talking about like how for the Star Trek thing, how you could really hear them being like Nimoy and like Shatner for those voices. But for the Star Wars audio drama, they would get some of the people depending on the production, like Mark Hamill participated in one of them. Um, but then you had other people stepping in and doing the voices that were not, Harrison Ford and didn't sound like Harrison Ford. Um, and but brought their own flavor. Once you got adjusted to it and got acclimated to that being the voice, you're totally roped in and going along.
totally agree. Brock Peters, who played for Star Trek fans, Captain Sisko's father, and is an amazing character actor, and was in the amazing Gregory Peck version of To Kill a Mockingbird, and he played Darth Vader in the NPR Star Wars adaptations and was exceptional.
Yeah.
Has a different booming voice than James Earl Jones, but still
Yep.
effective. And Perry King, who was a
Yes.
tremendous actor,
That was the name I was trying to pull up. I remember Perry King was Han Solo. Yeah. Yeah,
right.
he was great.
Absolutely, man. No, they really, and God, then they'd even do weird things like Ari, wasn't it Ari? I forget how you say his last name, if it's Lidecker or whatever, played Lando, and he wasn't an actor of color. And again, it's radio, but it
Right.
was very interesting that it was a different thing. There's the Lux Radio Theater was a tremendous old time radio show that would do radio adaptations of current films, and not still in the theater, but within a couple of years. And oh my God, you had people like one of the great noir actors, Alan Ladd, doing I want to say Casablanca, and I know Edward G. Robinson doing the Maltese Falcon, and you had these great classic actors just doing alternate versions. They're incredible to listen to. And I got to look at his. You'll forgive me, man. I'm going to do this every time your name pops up. Uh, Giro Gico Regio. Sorry, man. But as you point out, Evan Dorkin this past Halloween was posting old radio shows from YouTube. Yeah, I mean, there are incredible horror stories. In fact, a word balloon that I did during Halloween, Steve Darnell is our local host of old time radio here in Chicago.
Mhm.
And just talked to him in general about, God, amazing sci fi and horror stories that they adapted for radio. I mean, X minus one and Dimension X were the great sci fi shows, and even late 70s. Um, God, one of the album rock stations here in Chicago played it. It only lasted a season and a half. It was called Alien Worlds, and it
Mhm.
absolutely was grifting off of the Star Wars hype. and they were these amazing stories. And again, you can find them on YouTube. They're so good. They're so well produced, and they really do feel like good 70s sci-fi stories. So
Oh, that's great.
yeah, look for that stuff. Neil says some Hitchcock Criterion Edition DVDs. Yes, have the Lux Radio Theaters that are a delight. Indeed. Well, and also I know The Third Man, which isn't Hitchcock, but a tremendous film of the early 50s, was also adapted for Lux and is on the Criterion thing. So, there you go. I appreciate it, man. Thank you, man. I'm trying hard to get your name right. So you're probably going to have to give that pronunciation anytime you chime in on a chat. But no, honestly, I mean, again, as a veteran of radio for 30 years, and even creating some parodies for my sports years, and as I say, I'm sitting on a pile of co-star albums. I'm definitely going to do something with these in an audio way. So no, I absolutely appreciate what you're doing, Harry. I think it's fantastic. Now there are 2 current chapters up on your YouTube channel right now, and again, I will post the link. But I would want to remind people that I don't know what your plan is in terms of releasing more.
So they will come out every 2 weeks. The next one is going to be coming out next Tuesday, and then every Tuesday after that, until all 6 parts of the Negative Zone saga are complete. And then that 257 issue is going to come out roughly a month after that. So there'll be a little bit of a pause, and then that kind of like extra add-on story will come after that.
Outstanding, man. And I'm again, here's the link in the chat and the link there on the banner. But yeah, people scroll up if you need to copy it that way. But it's right there for you as well. But no, Harry, well done, man. Pretty cool stuff.
Thanks, John.
Whatever you want to do, your next story production, let me know, and we'll remind people and have them go over and check out your channel as well.
Well, that'd be great.
No, great conversation, dude. I really appreciate it, and good seeing you again. It's been a couple of years since we saw each other at Crystal's Play.
Yep.
You know how to reach me, so stay in touch with whatever new productions. Do you have a name for your audio production company?
So Geekorific is just kind of the tag name for a lot of the stuff that I do.
I see it right there. Sure,
Yep.
Geekorific,
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's awesome, man. No, that's terrific, dude. Congratulations. Honestly, I love what you're doing, and hope people enjoyed the tease that we played at the beginning of the show. And they'll be here. Final comments. I want to see if there's some there. Oh, there we go. Neil said just subscribe. Very excited to give these a listen, Harry.
Awesome.
There you go, man. Well, that's the hope, man, is getting you some more I'd say eyeballs, but also, well, it's a combination of eyeballs.
That's right.
So
listening with a little eyeball action with it.
Absolutely, man. Enjoy the Byrne art and enjoy the production sounds of the Geekorific dramas that Harry Bauer is now giving us. So congratulations, Harry. Thanks a lot for talking today.
Thanks a lot, John. Good talking to you.
Absolutely. Harry Bauer, everybody. Pretty neat stuff. Word Balloon Live comes back tomorrow with a To the Outer Limits review. Me, Gabe Hardman, and company will be talking about the next episode of the great 1963-64 series. And also on Friday, I'll be talking to Jim Zub. I've been meaning to talk to Jim for a couple months, and Jim will check in. He's got a new digital Suicide Squad story that actually is an old story that he did for DC years ago, but they finally put it out. And we'll be talking to him about his Marvel work, Conan, and the like as well. So that's coming up on Friday on Word Balloon Live. Until then, thanks a lot for watching tonight. Great comments, everybody, as always.